Hi, this is Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about why the Last Jedi debate matters. And there's a distinct possibility this will contain major spoilers for The Last Jedi. All right, so yesterday I was watching Collider. I specifically was watching Collider to see their commentary on what Jodie Foster had said about blockbusters. So Jodie Foster made this comment. She said that she felt that modern blockbusters, specifically superhero movies, are like cinematic fracking. Okay, and so Collider, to their credit, had coverage on there right away. She had, I think Jodie Foster had said this on the Radio Times interview the day before. Collider was talking about it in depth the very next day. So I went over and I watched their coverage, and so they had Christian Harloff from Schmoes Knows on Collider, and one of the things that he was saying they had a segment before the Jodie Foster segment where they were talking about Star Wars has just made $1 billion. So Star Wars Last Jedi has just made $1 billion, and they were talking about that. And Christian Harloff came on, and he said he said it 3 times. He said, "Who cares?" Or actually, specifically, he said, a lot of people are fighting over Star Wars. I love it, one camp. I hate it, second camp. And Christian Harloff's point was, who cares? Who cares? Who cares? He said it 3 times, and you could tell he was really twisted up about it because, he's an internet celebrity, and he has been, in the middle of this, and I'm sure he's gotten some rough comments, I think I'm not even sure where he stands on the film, but I really think the Last Jedi debate is incredibly important, all right? And I want to start with I want to answer Chris Harloff's question. I want to answer who cares, and I'm going to go farther, and I'm going to say why, okay? So one, I think it is really shameful for Christian Harloff to ask that. And the reason why is Christian Harloff portends, he purports that he is a movie reviewer, right? Well, I mean, just pure, simple logic would say that any movie that makes $1 billion, and if you're an internet movie reviewer, the people who are listening to you care about movies. So the people who care, who cares about the Last Jedi debate, or whether it's a great movie or a horrible movie, are exactly the people who are watching it, right? And I think overall, now Christian Harloff is not the only person to break this, this rule recently, in my opinion, and it kind of is a rule. Like, if you are saying you're one thing, don't pretend you're not, right? He's an internet movie reviewer, right? And the people who listen to him are literally turning in saying, I watched movies this weekend. That's not enough. I want to know what's happening because of these movies. I want to hear in-depth coverage of everything about movies, about the people, about the business, about the film itself. I care. They're literally saying, I care. They're saying it with their comments on his videos. They're saying it with their views on his videos. They're saying, so it kind of galled me that Christian Harloff would be saying, who cares about the Last Jedi debate? The answer is a lot of people. Now, here's the other issue, right? A ton. Star Wars is a mainstream property, right? So, but the people who care about the Last Jedi are about maybe 10 to 30% of that audience at most, right? But that's a huge amount of people. That's literally millions of people. So the answer to Christian Harloff is millions of people care if Last Jedi is a great movie or a terrible movie, okay? Now, I would go further and say, and he was saying, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter, right? And the reality is that is absolutely objectively not true. And what really frustrates me, right, is I really dislike Christian Harloff's coverage, and I'm really calling him out here because he has a platform and he has people who are watching him. And he calls it. He used to be part of Schmoes Knows. I think that's still an ongoing thing. But the reality is he's not a schmo. He's a smart guy. and he's covering movies, and this is what he does day in and day out. And to pretend that this stuff doesn't matter, he knows better, right? And that's I really don't like when people don't own what they are and be honest. And I really feel like Christian Harloff is not being honest. He knows exactly who cares about these things, and I think he knows why it matters. So let's get into why the Last Jedi debate matters deeply. Okay, all right. So here's the issue, right? One, we live in a world that is literally and is also structured by us as humans as a zero-sum game. It's just like poker, right? When I win chips, you lose chips, period, right? And that's the thing is, there's a lot of people starting to talk right now about what's happening with movie, specifically Last Jedi, right? People are saying, why is everybody getting so bent up? Why does everybody care so much about this? Well, the reason people care deeply about The Last Jedi is it absolutely matters. This is a zero-sum game, okay? There is a major studio involved with the creation of The Last Jedi. We have episode 7 and episode 8, right? And we're going to get episode 9. That's already on the tracks. But it matters deeply what's in episode 9, right? So right now, one of the things that's been in episode 7 and episode 8 is inclusiveness. Inclusiveness across genders. Inclusiveness across race. It's incredibly important. I think Rose Tico being added to episode 8 is huge. When that movie goes to China, there's going to be a lot of little boys and little girls who care deeply about that film because they see somebody on the screen who's just like them. And Star Wars changed my life when I was 7, and I'm excited about the idea of Last Jedi changing some children's lives right now in China. That's important, right? That is real, right? But it doesn't even stop there, okay? This is about culture and society. Last Jedi is saying, okay, it's a space epic, there's laser swords, all those kind of things, but it affects and it impacts our culture and our society in very, very real ways, okay? And you don't even have to think that long before you can see where it's coming from, right? So let's talk about where it's coming from. So one of the issues that is happening right now, is last year we had the hashtag MeToo movement, right? And that impacted our society deeply, right? In culture, our culture and our society deeply. Star Wars is right in that mix. And it's 1, 2, connect the dots. Here it goes, okay? Right now, one of the technology is incredibly integrated into every single Star Wars movie. Star Wars has always been at the cutting edge of film, okay? So last year, there was the Me Too movement. One of the things that got talked about in the Me Too movement was Kevin Spacey, right? So Kevin Spacey did some things that actually he was accused of doing some things that he shouldn't have done. He actually came out and said, yes, I made some choices I shouldn't have made, right? So Kevin Spacey was involved in the hashtag MeToo movement, right? Or actually was within that sphere, right? In that he was part of that conversation, right? So get this. Carrie Fisher died. She was and Carrie Fisher in Rogue One and Carrie Fisher in this last movie. There were scenes that were put in where she was not fully on screen. And so Carrie Fisher is now dead, but Princess Leia is the only character from the first trilogy that's still alive. Which means that there's a huge, big question on what, like everybody knows, Princess Leia is going to be in episode 9. But Carrie Fisher can't cut any of those scenes, right? Which means that she is going to be placed on screen using CGI. So she's going to be a dead person put onto screen. This last year, at the end of the year, there was a movie called All the Money in the World. Kevin Spacey had already cut his scenes, and he was in that film, right? The Me Too movement came out, and then Kevin Spacey was removed from that film, okay? He was digitally, technologically removed from that film and replaced with another actor, okay? Now, if we did that with one movie last year, we could do that with every single movie for every single person who was involved in Me Too. That is a huge, huge decision, okay? So that is culture and society being changed at a fundamental level. we all have to decide now. Do we take every single person who was involved in last year's Me Too movement and digitally remove them from the films that they're in? That's just one change from Star Wars Last Jedi, okay? And the work that's going to be done on Episode 9 and the fate of Episode 9 and what gets done in Episode 9 and what doesn't get done in Episode 9, the amount of money that is involved in Episode 9, all of it matters deeply. Star Wars matters deeply. Star Wars matters deeply to our culture and our society. And anybody who doesn't understand that is not paying attention. It is incredibly important. And there are very high stakes for what happens from Star Wars Last Jedi. And then the other thing that I would say is, if people are frustrated with all this importance being put on to art, I understand your frustration. I definitely get that. It would be nice if this was all bubblegum and unicorns, but it's not anymore, and there's actually a good reason for that, right? Here's why it matters what's happening with our movies. So we as humans, this is my take, we are a contentious bunch overall, right? And we used to hit each other over the head with sticks a lot. There was a lot of battles. There was a lot of violence. That is now going down. The amount of violence that is happening in the world, especially in first world countries, in developed nations. I know first world isn't being used much anymore. In developed nations, is going down. And overall, things are safer every single day, right? And that means that our battles, our fracases, are shifting to language, right? And where do we use language to discuss and do battle, essentially? On the arts. And there is no higher plane of art discussion than the modern blockbuster, period. Right? So I was really, really disconcerted to hear Christian Harloff yesterday saying, who cares about, he said it 3 times, about the Last Jedi debate. He knows better. He is a very smart guy. He knows who cares, and he knows what's really at stake. And that's the other thing is, I'm really wondering why he's saying that, right? Because I know better than to know that he doesn't know that he knows exactly who cares. He knows why this is important, right? So inclusiveness. How we're going to use technology in films. By the way, I'm not saying if we should or should not remove every person who was involved in last year's Me Too movement, that was talked about from perspective of the Me Too movement. But I am saying that decision is being made. And what happens with Last Jedi will absolutely, without a doubt, impact that. So if anybody thinks that The Last Jedi is not, that the debate over whether The Last Jedi is a great movie or a horrible movie doesn't matter. It matters. It absolutely matters. And the people who are saying anything different, they either don't know, right? And that's okay. There are people I think genuinely don't understand the importance of how art impacts culture and society, or they know and they're saying it for a reason. And I don't think those reasons are good generally. If you should be honest, you should be open about what the discussion is and what you're actually saying. So I think that the debate for whether The Last Jedi is a horrible movie or a great movie, by the way, I think it's a great movie, 5 out of 5 star movie. I absolutely love it. But I think it absolutely matters. Take care.